Started. Good morning, fellow leaders. I am Abosede George. Welcome to the Vice President Education Breakout Officer Session or Officer Breakout Session. Let me go ahead and bring my presentation up. Let me know when you can see my presentation. Are you able to see the presentation? Yes.
No, not yet.
Ankur,
Yes.
Ankur said he can see it.
We can see the
Your screen, but not the presentation.
screen, but not the presentation
You're
itself.
not seeing my slide.
Right.
Right.
Gotcha. May I reshare? What about now?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love it when technology works. Again, welcome to this session for Vice President Education. Congratulations on serving as the Vice President Education for the 2024-2025 Toastmasters year. We thank you for your service to your clubs and to our district. Today, our session will be divided into 3 areas. We'll talk about the Vice President Education role, the responsibilities and resources associated with this role. Our session objectives are to identify your role, to learn how to fulfill. I'm sorry, we're getting some feedback. Can you all please mute yourselves? Thank you. Yes, our session objectives today are to identify your role, talk about how to fulfill the various responsibilities of your role, and to identify resources that can help you with fulfilling your role. The VPE role. What is the VPE role? Any takers?
The BPE role is the Vice President of Education, and that role is very important because that role helps the members, you help the members to stay on track with your pathways and also the DCP goals.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Buckley. The essence of the Vice President Education role is to ensure that members understand the education program, which is Pathways, and this is for new members, that is, and to help existing members to know their goals and to enable them or assist them with achieving those goals. Throughout the session today, we will learn about how to complete the Vice President Education role. Now, what are the responsibilities of the Vice President Education role, given the essence that I just outlined for the Vice President Education? How do we think, or what do we think the responsibilities are? Go ahead, VPE Brown.
So one of the things is keeping a track of the pathway for the members.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anyone else?
I think we're supposed to congratulate members as they progress through through their pathways and bring attention to their accomplishments.
Absolutely. Recognition. Thank you. Toastmaster Randall.
So manage base camp.
Exactly. Serve as the base camp manager. Yes.
Supposed to do something with the agenda, in charge of the agenda.
Okay. Okay. Do something with the agenda. Thank you. We'll learn exactly what it is that we need to do as Vice President Education with the agenda today. Okay, Toastmaster, I think it was Soli. So we'll define exactly what that something is that we're supposed to do as Vice President Education.
Yeah, I didn't get descriptive, but I know it's a couple of things.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem. Thank you so much.
The last one is to manage the mentorship between members as well.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Absolutely. That is a cornerstone of our responsibilities as Vice President of Education, manage the mentorship program. Okay, I see your hand, Toastmaster Brown.
Also do the contest, speech
And
contest.
conduct speech contest. Wonderful. Yes, we have all those responsibilities that we have outlined. Those are all responsibilities of the Vice President Education. But today, what I wanted to first share is how Toastmasters International defines the responsibilities of the Vice President Education. So you're getting it directly from the source and not just from what I'm saying. So according to the club constitution, and we all know about the club constitution, right? These are the guidelines that are policies that the clubs follow. So according to the club constitution and standard bylaws of Toastmasters International, your role of Vice President Education is the second ranking officer and is responsible for planning, organizing, and directing a club program which meets the educational needs of the individual members. The Vice President Education chairs the Education Committee. Do you see how many times this definition mentions the word education? So what does that tell us? It tells us as Vice President Education, our main focus is on education. And in Toastmasters International, education equates to pathways. The analogy is often used that Toastmasters International can be seen as a university, and pathways can be seen as the college within the university. Your path would be like the degree program you're selecting, but more on that a bit later. So today for our training, we'll talk about your responsibilities in three main areas: the club meeting, outside the club meeting, and the executive committee. The club meeting. The responsibilities of the Vice President Education at the club meeting can be also broken down further into before club meetings, arriving at the club meetings, and during club meetings. So let's hear, what are your thoughts? What do you think are responsibilities of the Vice President Education at the club meetings? And you can either do before the meetings, upon arrival, or during. You can just spit them out. But let's, can you raise your hands, please, so that we're not all talking at the same time? Toastmaster Ancor.
Yeah, so before the meetings, you need to make sure that the agenda is correctly set, one speaker, two speaker, three speaker, and the rules are filled. And during the meeting, if the rules are not filled, you pick up a few people, volunteer them or voluntold them, and get those roles filled. And also at the end of the meeting, you are giving a summary of where you are in terms of how close you are to the goals, or which goals have to be met, and how, and make suggestions how people can meet those.
Absolutely. Those are definitely part of the responsibilities during the club meeting. Another Toastmaster, I see your hand is raised, but unfortunately it's not showing me your name. So if you have your hand raised and you're not Toastmaster Ancor, can you go ahead and speak?
Yes, hi. My name is Lori Penna, and one of the things I'm trying to figure out is how to edit the agenda to put the theme in there.
Okay.
So that's going to take some pre-work. Also, all the roles filled. Also, email the members so that they know what's coming and they know what roles need to be filled. And those are the things that I'm still trying to figure out.
Wonderful. Thank you for your response, Toastmaster Pena. So what we just heard was a mixture of responsibilities before the meeting, upon arrival at the meeting, and even during the meeting and outside of the meeting. So let's go ahead and do a deeper dive into what Toastmasters International recommends as the responsibilities before club meetings. Both Toastmasters touched on the first item, which is to review the scheduled roles. Yes, as VPE, you are responsible for ensuring that roles are filled, but some clubs change this up, meaning this is the recommended role for the VPE, but you don't always have to do things this way. If you would like to change things up, because I know, for example, some clubs, they have the Toastmaster of the day who is well, not solely, but primarily responsible for ensuring that roles are filled. But just know as the VPE, it is part of your responsibility. You offer support to the Toastmaster and you schedule education sessions. Now, what do we think schedule education sessions means? Toastmaster Scott.
Thank you, Toastmaster Abou-City. I think scheduling education sessions for me lines up with the before meeting preparation, which entails reaching out to the newer members who have not filled the role previously and educating them and making sure they have the right tools so that they're successful during the meeting.
Okay, thank you. So, excuse me, that is good answer, correct. And that can also fall under orientation, which we'll get to in a minute. But another thing that can fall under scheduling education sessions is most members focus on completing the speeches that are aligned with their particular path. Their level 1 speeches, level 2, etc. However, those are not the only speeches that should be conducted at a Toastmasters meeting. Because remember, we want to have broad education sessions also, not just speeches. So the education sessions that Toastmasters talks about includes sessions such as Moments of Truth, the Club Success Plan, conducting successful meetings, things like that. Any presentation that Toastmasters provides, and there's a wealth of information or sessions that are out there. Can you please remain on mute? Toastmaster Amelia, can you please remain on mute?
Oh, it's not on mute? Oh, okay.
I saw you pop up as talking, so that's why I was sort of calling you out. My apologies if you were not, but it popped up. I know Zoom can sometimes fizz out, but yes, please everyone remain on mute if you're not speaking, just to prevent any disturbances. Thank you. But yes, there are other educational sessions. Toastmasters does recommend the Moment of Truth to be conducted at least twice per year, at the beginning, once at the beginning, maybe once at the midpoint. Is everyone familiar with that presentation?
No.
No.
Okay, for someone who is familiar, can you go ahead and explain what the Moment of Truth is? I heard some yeses. Any takers?
Yes, the Moments of Truth is to indicate how your club is proceeding and how it is growing. And they have, I believe it's 7 or 8 characteristics that you look at for the Moments of Truth. You look at the club atmosphere, the club agenda, the camaraderie in the club, members' attendance. And
Ye-
let's see what else.
That's good. That's good. Thank you, Toastmaster Buckley. Absolutely. So the moment of truth, like Toastmaster Buckley stated, it's a gauge. It's really a gauge. That's all it is. And it's a self-evaluation for members of the club. So what you basically do is at the beginning of the year, and this is just a best practice suggestion, is you conduct a moment of truth to find out how we're doing as a club. So the categories include first impressions, and the ones that Toastmaster Linda mentioned. And you provide, each member provides a rating on how the club currently is conducting itself in each one of those areas. So then you use this tool again, maybe at the midway point or so, just to gauge any progress or improvements. I say progress or improvements, and hopefully that's what we have and not regressions. But that's an example of an education session that Toastmaster International recommends that you conduct. There are also several sessions in the Successful Club Series program within Toastmasters. It talks about how to conduct a meeting, what's a quality club meeting, and the club success plan, I believe. So these are all sessions that you as the VP Education can assist with scheduling, just to ensure that you are providing the best education to your club members. Toastmaster Pena, I believe, touched on this, I believe it was, notifying the club president of education awards. Why do we want to do this? And Toastmaster Francis, I see your hand is raised.
I just had a quick question. When we are doing the education sessions, do those count towards speeches or whatnot, or could we possibly count those towards speeches and get evaluated?
Absolutely. Awesome question. Let me give you a secret, and this is for everyone. It's not a real secret, but it's a bit of a secret. Anytime you speak, make sure you get credit for it. Anytime you speak. So try to find a path, a project, not a path, but a project within your path to apply that speech to words. And absolutely, anytime you give a presentation, it can be. You just have to ensure what? What's the key to getting credit for a speech? Anyone.
Evaluated.
And evaluated?
Evaluated, exactly, exactly. You have to be evaluated, but definitely. And regarding before the club meetings, notifying the club president of education awards, why we want to do this is because of recognition. Recognition is so important to every member. We all want to be recognized for the good things we're doing. Maybe not the bad things or the things that are not going well, but we want to make sure that we're recognizing our Toastmasters when they achieve any sort of educational award, whether it's just a level completion or a pathway completion or giving a presentation. One of those education sessions that we just talked about, those are typically over 20 minutes. They're pretty long. Some are 40 minutes, 45, an hour. Some of them, two people can combine to do them. Example, a Toastmaster wears many hats. I remember doing this years ago, and I had several persons doing it, and we made it fun. We put on a different hat every time we did a different role. But yes, ensure you get credit and recognize your members whenever they do something, let's say, outside of the box, as one of those session presentations. Upon arrival at the club meetings as VPE, you remind members to select an evaluator, you assist the Toastmaster, but one of the very first things you would do as VPE upon arrival at club meetings is what? And this is not just incumbent on the VPE or any club officers. What's the very first thing you do when you arrive at a club meeting as a Toastmaster in general, but definitely as a club officer? You greet all your guests.
You greet people?
Oh, did she say wrap up in 5 minutes? Okay. Yes, you greet everyone. You greet everyone and you inform the topics master if any guests are willing to participate. Is it me or did that seem like that went by very quickly? Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. That's only 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty quick.
That's
Yeah,
20
let me
minutes.
ping her right quick. But let's move on just in case this is correct for some reason. When we're meeting outside the club meeting as the VPE, we plan the club meetings, meaning we don't always have to meet inside the club. As VPE, we can help to plan meetings outside of the clubs just to make things more interesting and help with those quality meetings. We talked about orienting new members. As the VPE, it is your responsibility to help orient members. You work with the VPM, Vice President Membership, and a key point of orienting new members is explaining to them how Toastmasters, how the program works, walking them through selecting a path and assigning them a mentor. Mentorship is key within Toastmasters program. Why?
So they can have somebody to refer back to.
Exactly. So that mentors are needed because it helps to build rapport between new and old members, new and seasoned members. It gives them an assigned dedicated resources for any questions. And it helps to retain members because imagine if you arrived at a club, you don't have a mentor, you don't know what's going on, you've been there for a month or two and you're still floundering around. Will you be encouraged to stay with that club? No. No, we will not be encouraged to stay with that club. So this is why mentorship is extremely important. And you as the VPE, you are responsible. This is one of your key responsibilities to assign a mentor. Now, outside of the club meetings, you work as the base camp manager, meaning as base camp manager, you approve level completions, and you keep track of the educational goals within the club as it relates to the Distinguished Club program. This slide also talks about replacement in case you're not going to be present at the meeting, arranging for someone to take your place, especially if there are functions or activities that as VPE you're intended to perform. And also to prepare a successor for your office. So we talked about at the club meeting, outside the club meeting, and now we're going to talk briefly about the executive committee. As VPE, your responsibilities within the executive committee is to prepare and present educational program reports, meaning the executive committee for your local club with your president, your VPM, and all your other club officers. You want to give reports. You're also responsible for attending the area executive committee with the other VPEs, VPMs, and presidents from all the other clubs within your area. At those meetings, those executive committee meetings, whether at the club level or area level, you share information about upcoming speech contests. You plan when you will have your speech contest, who will be the functionaries, etc. This year, and you will hear about this a bit later, we have a new speech contest coming up, being introduced to District 14 for the very first time. So please, as VPEs, pay special attention this year to speech contests and the opportunities for training. Now, we talked a bit about our role, the essence of our role, which is essentially education, not for new members only, but for existing members. We talked about what the responsibilities are. Now, how will you fulfill this responsibility or the responsibilities? When will each action be completed? Who is available to help you? And what materials and resources can you use? If I can get one person to answer each of these questions, please.
Ask the question again, please.
So the questions are on the slide. The first question is, how will you fulfill your responsibilities as the VPE? How? And remember what your responsibilities are. To ensure.
Number-
Go
I would
ahead.
say, I would try to keep in contact with my members and see what level they're on, what pathways they're working on, and see how I can assist them.
Awesome. Depending on what the responsibility is, that will determine when you will complete that activity, correct?
Yes.
Absolutely. So who's available to help you? Who do you think is available to help you?
BPM, the membership. VP.
Exactly. And every other club officer, your area director, your division director, and most importantly, what materials and resources you can use? The club leadership handbook. It is available for everyone to use, and that should be your go-to resource. In terms of getting started, the first thing you do is you attend the training, which is what you're doing today. Read the materials, read the club leadership handbook, meet with the outgoing VPE, and meet with your executive team. I am sorry, but our time seems to be going out very quickly because I saw that it was closing shortly. Thank you all for attending.
Not even 30 minutes.
No, it's not. Not sure what happened, but I am
Can
not.
you speak in the next like 20 seconds, just what the education committee is?
Your education committee is anyone who you would like to help you. So you form an education committee, and please include a successor in this education committee, someone who you think would be a good VPE for next year, or anyone that's willing to help you. And this should also include the past VPE because you want a mentor, somebody to guide you.
Thank you.
That's why it recommends 1 to 3 person on your education committee. So this is how you get started. By your first steps, try to form a committee and then meet with every member to get their goals, to get a clear understanding of what they want to accomplish this year. Thank you all so much.
Few who are 2 to 5 years. We have one that's 6 to 9 years. I actually guessed. That's actually me. I think it's been 6 to 9 years. I guessed on that one.
You know, I'm out of here.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem. So I'm just checking. I see 4. I'm looking in the chat now. I see 4 years. I see 0 years. Yes, it is menti.com, and it's at the top of the screen if you look just on the screen in front of you. 3 years, 0 years. I love it. All right. So you can keep putting those in. You can keep putting.
And I'm a member of Clayton County Community Orators. We just were chartered June 1st. I've been a Toastmaster since 2020. Our objectives for today is to recognize, assess, and develop. So first, recognize the advantages to good planning. Why is it an advantage to plan? Everyone should know this old adage, if you plan to fail, you fail, or if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, you fail to plan. Which one is it, y'all? Someone tell me, which one is it?
If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
That's right. So you're already predestined your club for failure by not having a plan in the first place. How can you have a plan and have a successful club? It's not possible. You can wing it, and some people just get lucky, but we definitely need to have a good plan for them. Assess and see who needs to mute. Someone needs to mute. Let's see who that is. Is that President Brad? I'm not sure. I muted him. I don't know if that was him or not. Assess and revise planning documents to improve effectiveness. So even though the success plan was formed, you may need to go back in and revise the plan. which is not a problem. It's accessible through Toastmaster International, and we will review how to do that. So don't think just because you develop the plan that it cannot be improved on. You may see something that you missed, see something that you want to add. Absolutely, it's fine to do that. Next, develop planning documents to effectively target your goals. So what are your goals? And how do you know what those goals are if you didn't ask who? Your members, your officers, everyone needs to be a part of the club success plan. It is not
Serving as a club officer for 12 months. You can't escape it. But here's what I'm going to say about it. One, you can do the same role for 12 full months, but maybe your life, your schedule says, I can't do maybe a intensive role for 12 months like president. So do what we do in the real world. Role share, job share. That's a real thing. You can do a Toastmaster role for 6 months. Now you kind of work this out with your club, but it is, again, allowable. You can do one role for 6 months and then maybe swap with another Toastmaster who's doing another role for the other 6 months. That way you both get a taste of two different roles. You don't have to do the same role for the entire year. Maybe one role that you choose is less intensive. And when I say less intensive, I'm going to say your workload might not be as much. The VPE has a lot to do, but maybe being the Sergeant of Arms has a lesser intensive responsibility, and you could swing that for 6 months and maybe be VPE for 6 months. So when you are looking at how do I satisfy my club officer commitment, keep in mind that you can do it in a 6-month chunk. And if you're in your first path, okay, let's just say you're working on your first path and not your second one at the moment, you can do 6 months for the first year and then 6 months for the next year. Now that might mean that you're going to be 2 years over getting your DTM, which is not a bad thing because I didn't do mine in the first year either. But you have some flexibility in serving in this officer role. So it doesn't have to be 6 consecutive months. You can do 6 months. Maybe you need a break because you got other things going on and pick up another 6 months in the next following year if you cannot do 12 consecutive months. Okay?
Hi,
so
this
there's
is
some
Charlie May.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, while you were on that officer role,
Mm-hmm.
to say that I suggest to the officers that are in those roles that have a lot of responsibilities to it, is to get a committee or at least have at least one person to back you up so you're not struggling to get everything done and you have some help so that you can do your full year, but just not alone.
Absolutely. That is, thank you, Charlie May. That is also a very good point.
I have quick question. Can I do the same role 12 months or I need to have 6 months one role and another 6 months another role?
No, you can keep the same role for 12 months. So point in case. Every role that I have filled at the club officer, I've kept it for 12 months because I have been able to do that. And there are a number of clubs where when they elect their officers, it is for a 12-month term. There are a few clubs that may, for whatever reason, only do their officers every 6 months. But yeah, you can do the same role all the way through for 12 months. Absolutely. And I would say that's the norm. To Charlie May's point, that's pretty much the norm for a large number of clubs. I'm just exposing you to an option just in case your situation is a little different and I don't want you to think that there's only one way to make this happen. Sound good? Okay. Oh, okay, there we go. Now, there's no way around this. District office, you have to do it for a complete term. July 1 to June 30th of the following year. On this slide, I just want to make you aware of the various roles that qualify for DTM credit. And because most people know that you have to be an area director or
here, I'm the VPE, and so I can't teach anybody anything when I don't know how to do it myself.
Yes,
Okay, so-
and then I have a question as well. I'm the
Okay, so
president.
let's
President
start.
of.
And-
Can I ask
and-
my question? Okay,
Yes,
I
go
have.
ahead.
I'm the president of a club, and before the president that is leaving the club has admin credentials. So what do I do? He's leaving the end of September. So to switch that over so I can run FTH, how is that?
If-
How do I do that?
Oh, I forgot my login. Okay, so I can tell you, this is a borrowed site for me. What you are going to do as admin is you are going to go in and there's a box on access. It will say who has admin authority. And once you've changed your role at TI, this will change. So
Okay.
they are different. However, if you have lost all admin responsibility or all admin passwords to get in and understand what's going on, go and send an email. There's a form on Free Toast Host. Contact us. There's a form that you can put in your club number and it will ask what you are trying to do. There will probably be a verification once you use your club number, and this club number is
window down. He said, Dave, get in the car. And I said, okay, you want me to get in the car? I'll get in the car, but is this one of those rides where I don't come back to the building? Do I need to get my stuff now because I'm not coming back? And he said, nah, get in the car. So we rode around Tallahassee, Florida. You know, again, I'm new. I'm in the market maybe 2 months. Looking at the sea moss trees, you know, they hang down. It's just beautiful scenery. We're making small talk, and then he finally got to what he wanted me to be reviewed on. I heard you had a meeting today, and I said, yeah. He said, you told the sales manager no on something, right? And I said, yes, sir, I did. We talked about that prior to me coming on board with this company. And he said, I'm okay with that. The problem that I have is you told him no in less than 2 minutes. And I was like, oh. And he said, you were right. I'm riding with you. But in the South, we take it a little bit slower. Instead of doing it in 2 minutes, take like 5 to 8 minutes. You're still going to get the answer that you want, but don't say it so quick. And I looked at him and I said, John, do you know that goes against every time management thing that I've ever read, every video, every book, every workshop? And he said, yes, but we're in the South now. And I need you to do it in more time. Take your time, still get to it. Just don't be so quick. Drop me back off at the radio station. The long story is, or the short story is, we worked together for 2 years. And in those 2 years, we set records in sales and records in programming because I needed to make an adjustment in my leadership style. So we have to be open to make a change sometimes. So leadership style is very, very important. Oh, there we go. I was about to say, Ingrid, if you could cut that mic off, that would be awesome. So leadership style, fantastic. Anybody have a share that they would like to share with regards to that? Okay. Karen, what's your...
A meeting, because we do things differently. We have workshops, we have better learning session. We try to increase, and we ask our members what they want. So every club is different. So when you do that, you can determine if your club is quality just by letting the members speak about how they feel about the club.
Thank you, Dwight.
You're welcome.
Looking at our other question, and Dwight has mentioned something about this before. How do quality meetings encourage members to volunteer to be leaders for leadership roles? There are several leadership roles in your club, not just the president, vice president, and those that you vote for. There are other members, there are other leadership roles. Whenever you step up to be a table topics, you are fulfilling a leadership role. So how does a quality meeting encourage member volunteers? How does that work in your club? What does it look like?
Well, for one, having your resources ready to go and ensuring that if there's maybe somebody's a little bit iffy about signing up for a role for the first time, well, often we'll give them something like Timer or even Table Topics Master that's a little bit simpler than some of the other ones and a little bit less deep in the, kind of knowing the structure of the meeting and all of that. It's good intro role. And then we offer them 2 or 3 people that they can talk to that can support them ahead of time and during the meeting. So it's having that support structure in place before and during the meeting can certainly help encourage that.
Excellent. Any other response?
Yes, this is Annette from Victoria's Voices. What we did earlier in our club will prepare one of our.
You're pushing it, real aggression there. Sometimes, and many times I have seen it's taken a little longer. But those are the differences between being a club coach and a club mentor. But in both cases, there's training involved. We don't get to just be those things because we raise our hand. There is training that is taken care of and scheduled by our chairpersons. So we have the club retention chair who manages the training for the club coaches. We have our club extension chair who manages the training. I think it is for the club mentor. And then we have one other chair, I have it on another slide, who manages the training for the club sponsor that I'm going to talk about. The first training has already taken place. July was the 3rd week of July. The district club growth director, Floyd Neal, is making an exception. And for those who are interested in being a club coach or a club mentor or a club sponsor, which we're going to talk about next, you can review the slides. I have them. The next training is going to be later on this month, and we'll have to attend that. I will be attending training as well. And then there are about 3 more trainings. So I think there's about 5 targeted monthly. They're about an hour. The requirement is that as you are being assigned, you do need to continue those remaining trainings. Theoretically, they would like people to be trained before they're assigned, but we have a need, and our club growth director is making an exception to that so that you can continue to be trained as you are being assigned. So I talked about a little bit about how you get credit. To receive credit as a coach, again, you have those metrics. Once those metrics are achieved, then the club president of the club that you coached will notify in writing via email Toastmasters headquarters that you were the coach from this time, they have achieved their metrics, and once Toastmaster headquarters has it on file, then they will go ahead and acknowledge the credit for you. If you're a mentor or sponsor, we'll talk about sponsor in a minute, once your job is done, so as a sponsor, your name goes on the chartering documents. As a mentor, your name is submitted once the club is charted as the mentor. And then once you have completed those roles, then a confirmation email is sent to Toastmaster headquarters saying that your role has been fulfilled so that you can get credit. Now, club sponsor, how are you successful? Remember, the club